It's time for the Cowboys to finally meet expectations. What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video. And today I'm going to be going on a deep dive into the 2023 Dallas Cowboys. We're going to be breaking down each side of the ball as well as the record predictions. So stay tuned for that. That is at the end. Of course, y'all could probably just skip towards it. But let's get right into this. Let's have a very good time. Again, if you guys are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Off-season is an absolute bitch. Don't worry about it. I know the algorithm is absolutely getting me down in the dumps because I'm doing one per team. And everybody knows there's a big reason why very few YouTubers end up doing series like this is because apart from maybe the one or two that do it who have an extreme audience, they don't really do well. But I want to give this content to you guys because it also informs me on the roster, so it's a way for both of us to learn while also having a good time. So let's get right into the roster, starting out with the offense. I think that, well, overall, this team is just super duper solid. You know, there's not really that many huge weak points. I think tight end, since it has been a strength for so long, is one of those pieces that, you know, I wish were a lot better, but we'll discuss that in a second. If you guys are new, I go skill position to offensive line, then defensive line out back to skill position. So starting off with the quarterback, Dak Prescott is an absolutely awesome quarterback. A lot of people think that he's not nearly as good as what people think. I'm kind of on that train as well. I don't think Dak is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL like some Cowboys fans like y'all probably do. But what I do believe is that he is certainly a starting caliber quarterback and one that, you know, if Jared Goff can get to the Super Bowl with the Rams, I think he could as well with the Dallas Cowboys if everything goes to plan. Lost Amari Cooper a little bit ago. Obviously didn't have him last year, but you guys ended up somehow replacing him with Brandon Cooks, and I think that is awesome. That's like one of the more underrated signings. I believe it might have been a trade, but regardless, acquisitions of the offseason. Running back wise, Tony Pollard is the man running the show. A little bit worried about the running back room overall. You got Deuce Vaughn in there, who I do absolutely adore. He was actually my RB2 this past year. His dad's a scout for the team, so it's just kind of cool to see that nice little meshing right there from the guy from Kansas State, because I do think he can step up and actually have a really good role on this team. But also, you got Hunter Lepke there. I'm pretty sure he was the highest RAS score fullback in draft history, according to whatever Math Bomb started tracking it. So that's pretty cool. You know, love to see that. But other players of note, you got Michael Gallup there at left wide receiver, as well as CeeDee Lamb. If this is incorrect, blame ourlads.com. I'm literally just parroting what their depth chart is. I know the Eagles one. We'll discuss that this week as well. It does actually have Tyler Steen potentially starting at guard when, you know, it's pretty obvious Jurgens will probably be starting at guard. But still, I'm going to have it as follows. I believe that this is probably going to be the right way to do it. So don't get mad at me. Offensive line-wise, though, for the first time, I talked about the tight end already. Jake Ferguson, solid player. Someone who I liked quite a bit, but definitely not somebody who I think is starter quality, hence why I do believe it is the worst unit. Offensive line-wise, though, Tyron Smith and Tyler Smith guarding up that left. They're both extremely good talents. I was a huge fan of Tyler Smith, thought he should be a guard, and ended up doing pretty well as a tackle. So, you know, he definitely has a future there, but, you know, as a guard at the moment, I think he's going to absolutely kick ass. Tyler Biadasz, I think he's going to be a monster too eventually. Just, I don't trust his consistency yet. I loved when they selected him. I think he was like a 5th round pick a while ago. You know, I think that he's certainly somebody who has more room to grow than what he has. He has untapped potential. And I'm excited to see if he's able to do that. The younger the line is, the more excited I get. Zach Martin, obviously. I don't know why the hell he has a comma right guard next to his name, but, you know, welcome to the club. But Zach Martin, you know, he's been all-pro level guard for a while, needs to stay healthy, but this guy is going to be an absolute beast regardless. Terrence Steele on a 1 year left on his contract has been extremely solid, rock solid there for the offense. Some other notable players on the team, you got Jalen Tolbert, who was, I believe, an early 3rd round selection for you guys just a year ago. So definitely some untapped potential there. Fehoko as well. Another one of those wide receivers that's buried on the depth chart but has great potential out of Stanford. Matt Waletzko, a Senior Bowl standout a year or so ago. Big fan of that. Asim Richards, another Senior Bowl offensive lineman taken late. Was a huge fan of that. Luke Schoonmaker, your second round selection, who I did not like at all. I just personally didn't like the selection, but at least you're investing in the position I say is the weakest. So good for you. And then already mentioned Deuce Vaughn, but I do think that the guy who gets the most touches is going to be Luke Schoonmaker in an offense that probably will still favor the tight ends, even though Kellen Moore is down in Los Angeles. I think Michael Gallup's going to be coming back to full health, and I think he might have a much larger role. So good for him. And then if anything happens to Tony Pollard, or if Deuce Vaughn just ends up being the guy who I thought he would be, I think that he could certainly step up and be a really good sleeper option. Next, we got the defense. I think these corners are elite, but we'll talk about them later. D-line wise, Osa Odighizuwa, Mozzie Smith, the first round selection. I love both those guys coming out. Osa was a Senior Bowl standout as well, so you guys like to build the beef with dudes who are Senior Bowl guys. I think both of them are very talented players. Mozzie Smith was the number one guy on Bruce Feldman's Freaks list at the start of last year. So definitely somebody who has great potential. I know it was a big letdown for people who wanted someone like Dalton Kincaid. I would have loved that as well for you guys. I think he got sniped the pick before, but there were moves that you guys could have made. You guys ended up sticking and getting Mozzie Smith, and in a very thin interior defensive line class, I don't fully blame you. So I think that's pretty damn solid. DeMarcus Lawrence is, he's a very, very talented edge rusher, just getting a little bit older. And then Micah Parsons is arguably the best player in the NFL. So gotta love that one as well. But we also have to bring up guys like Sam Williams in there, who was a second round pick just a little bit over a year ago, who has unbelievable potential. Just, there's some really big stars in front of him. So big fan of that right there. You also have, I believe, Jonathan Hankins on the roster. Look at those linebackers right there. Leighton Vander Esch, Damone Clark, easily the worst part of this group. Just the linebackers are not looking too elite unless you classify Micah Parsons as a linebacker, but he is listed as a Leo. Now we can look back at those safeties, Malik Hooker. It's fun because I'm happy he's still in the NFL. He was a very talented safety out of Ohio State, but just kept getting injured, couldn't stay healthy, and that's very unfortunate. But then you have Damian Wilson there, who has been a very consistent, strong safety. I'm a big fan of him. Slot cornerback / nickel is Jordan Lewis, very talented player as well. And then you have the elite corners in Stephon Gilmore and Trevon Diggs. Like, this team definitely has what it takes to compete. I think that maybe the offensive line, like if you look at it right here, actually, oh man, just the interior alone, it has so much fluctuation that could happen to it. But there's just not many parts of this team that you can pick apart. And I think maybe you could just say those linebackers are going to be the big issue. So looking at the schedule, you can see the record right there. I do believe in this team, and I think that they will end up being the second best team in their conference. I think they're going to be competing with Seattle. So spoiler alert on that one. Haven't made the video yet, or I haven't even made the slide deck yet, but definitely leaning towards Seattle, making a push for the NFC Championship. But it'd be cool to see the Cowboys and the Eagles face off in a late playoff, in a not Western Conference, but in an NFC Championship game. Regardless, I will go through the schedule right here at New York. I just think this team's really hot early on in the season. I don't really trust New York anyways, just going to be honest. The other New York team, so the Jets and the Giants, I think that Aaron Rodgers will have a little bit of an acclimation period to get adjusted to the roster. But again, this team's super duper solid, just needs to remain healthy. Arizona's Arizona. New England, they're just not where they used to be. So it's unfortunate. San Francisco, I have Brock Purdy listed as returning week 10. Have no faith in Trey Lance in that regard. Very excited for when I get absolutely annihilated on that video. But Los Angeles, you're going to LA. I think that, LA is a very high octane team. I've given other teams also who are very talented losses to LA. I think LA is going to be one of those fun teams that you end up seeing take a big W, and they're going to make a push in the AFC, I believe. Then you have LA, another team that just lost all of its star power. Oh, another LA team. But, back-to-back New York, back-to-back LA. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad. Regardless, I just don't really have faith in the Rams this year. I have you guys losing out to Philadelphia, so I'll just explain it right now. I think Philadelphia's second lineup is arguably better than maybe the third or fourth best team in the NFC, and that's if they play all their backups, and that says a lot because their starting lineup is obviously better than that. So I think that the depth and just the overall talent level in Philadelphia When I saw them bring back all their veterans, I literally knew that they were just trying to make a push. They're saying, hey, we're getting the Super Bowl win, which, spoiler alert, probably is going to be the name of the video. But then, go back to New York. I just think this team is too damn good to be able to compete or to be able to be truly contested by New York. But it is certainly a factor, but at least we are here in Dallas. If it were in New York, I'd probably do a toss-up on that one. Carolina, that's an interesting one, but I just don't believe Bryce Young and that whole entire receiving core as a whole is going to be able to withstand the pressure as well as the defensive back, the cornerback talent specifically of the Cowboys. So I think there's definitely a lot of room to be had right there. I love Carolina, but I got to be a little bit of a realist here. Washington, it's not going to be a pretty video for the Commanders fans. So I'll just be I'll preface it a little bit early for y'all, but bottom line, this team is much worse than I expected. I was hoping that they could maybe try to make a push because NFC is pretty weak. They just have no depth. I thought their defense was incredible. They don't have enough depth. And I don't trust, especially if Chase Young's getting moved, for this team to actually be able to compete. Too many contracts up in the air, too much injury history. Genuinely worried about this team. Then you got Seattle there. Again, it's a toss-up, but you're in Dallas. So I do believe that would be a very fun game to go see because, you're going to be able to have a nice clash right there. I think the running game of Seattle could flip that game, and you could end up having a four-loss streak right there, which you already know Stephen A. Smith's going to start laughing at it if it does, but I'm going to lean with you guys on the coin toss there. But yeah, Philadelphia, I just think is too damn good. I really do. And then you got Buffalo and Miami. You're in Buffalo, and then you're in Miami. So you're going from extremely cold to extremely hot that part of the season. Just really tough biomes to succeed in. Detroit, you're in a dome. I think you're going to do perfectly fine against them. They did not hit the draft the way they needed to. But I will say the X factor will be Jahmyr Gibbs because those linebackers are going to need to play a vital role in sealing the edge and making sure that Jahmyr doesn't end up breaking off for a huge touchdown, which, that's a big issue. But then then we end off at Washington. Forgot to mention the other guys of note. You got DeMarvion Overshown there who can step up, and that might make me feel a little bit better. Jaron Curse, he's been super fun. And then you have Nashawn Wright. So overall, I think you guys are going to have a really damn good year. I'm praying to God that y'all don't do what you normally do, which is fuck it up at the end. But I believe in y'all. Don't make me regret it. But thank you guys for watching. See you guys on the far side. Peace.